Hey guys, how's it going? I wanted to kind of run you down on what I've gotten done so far on the intercooler project for this 1990 Dodge Ram D350. So this the intercooler that I've got in here, like in the previous video, it's from a company called CSF, and their model number is 6009. And I believe that's for a 05 to a 09, 08, something like that, 2500, 3500 Ram truck. So you got to modify that, chop off a bunch off the bottom and get it all capped up. But I did get the intercooler piping done up last weekend. This section here turned out really easy. Just a straight fitting with a this is 3-inch piping, so I went from a 3 to a 2-inch reducer 90, and that worked out really easy. Just reclocking the turbo housing, that turned out just easy peasy right there. A couple of clamps there. On this other side, got a little bit more complicated, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. Just a couple of 90s in here, up and into this here. This is a special cast aluminum 90, so it makes a much sharper 90, and I bought one of those, and that was like 12 or 13 bucks off of eBay. The casting is really rough, but it welded up okay. Used a piece of 3/8 aluminum plate there, welded this 90 right onto it, you know, and made the holes for the hole pattern for the intake there, and that turned out pretty slick. It took quite a bit of time to get this knocked out. This is my first time welding straight butt welds on this thinner intercooler piping. I have done it before right here, adding a coupling here. That was a lot easier because it's got a nice big heat sink there to soak up some heat when you're welding it. This one here was kind of rough, but I finally got it dialed in a little bit. So a little bit rough on the welds there, but we'll get better on that type of stuff. But so far, pretty happy with how all that turned out. I had made this battery tray here, and I ended up having to trim it out. Or trim it down rather, to give myself some clearance for these clamps down in here. You do have to trim back this portion here. There's a little gusset that comes through here, and I ended up having to chop right through it, so that got trimmed back. And I'll be going back through when I tear this truck down again for paint. We're going to get all this type of stuff cleaned up. This is just kind of mocking things up right now, and then we'll get it cleaned up better in the future. So this, you know, like I said, that's a 3-inch intercooler piping kit, and I've still got a whole bunch of it left over, so I'll probably either hang on to it or sell it and give it to a buddy or something like that. But it turned out pretty slick. I like how it looks. You still got access to all the stuff, and that was something I really wanted. I want to maintain the serviceability, you know, be able to get to the power steering pump. You know, this right here is the oil check. You can still get to that. It's a little tight, but not that big of a deal. So I'm kind of thinking about powder coating the intercooler piping and some of the accent pieces that I've made, like this piece here for the radiator fill. That turned out pretty nice. I like how that cleans it up a bit in here. So just trying to do things that kind of make the truck special, to me anyways. Probably end up making the washer fluid. We'll make that out of aluminum too, and then I'll end up doing all the aluminum accent pieces in a powder coat, and then black everything else out, I suppose, the battery box and whatnot. But really, it turned out pretty nice. I like how it all laid in there. I am going to try and make a aluminum fan shroud this weekend. So we're going to end up pulling this out of there, and I'm going to just basically try to copy it, but out of aluminum. I think that'll be pretty slick. I did add a pressure gauge here to the, there's a port here that you can pull the NPT plug out of and just screw a 1/8 inch NPT pressure gauge into it. I think that's kind of nice. Right here at this port it's showing like 70 psi of oil pressure, so that's mint. I was also thinking about seeing how hard it'd be to make this air filter housing out of aluminum. It's a little bit more of a complex piece, but I think I could knock that out. That'd look pretty slick too. Having that be all out of aluminum. But the one thing that I have not done yet is these are the lines for the condenser AC unit, and it wasn't working before, so that's not a big deal right now. I'll probably take it to an AC shop and see if they can recommend a AC condenser that would fit. I think there's enough space in here to fit a small one behind this grill. It's going to be tight, but you could probably do it. Or if they have some other options that might fit elsewhere in the truck. There's the tranny cooler. It used to be mounted up in here, and it's now down there behind the bumper. I haven't taken the truck out for a spin yet, so kind of hard to tell if that's going to work. I think it should get enough airflow that it shouldn't be a problem. That was kind of a booger to get that in there. You do, at least how I did it, you have to have the bumper off in order to put that in there, but you could probably come up with something a little bit better. That wouldn't be such a hassle. So it just mounts right there to the frame rails that stick out to support the bumper. It just hooks right to that. So the other thing I've got to do now is modify the hood latch. You can see how the intercooler comes right up to the top there. I mean, there's probably 3/8 of an inch right there. So I've either got to put a plate in here for something to hook to, or I'm going to see, first off, I'm going to see if I can modify this latch. It hooks here, and I'm going to see if there's a way for me to get it to hook somewhere in here and then cut a notch into it, and then hopefully it'll catch on this. So we need to get that figured out before we can take it for a test run down the highway. The only kit that I've seen for an actual kit that somebody sells for this is the CX Racing, I think. I didn't like how they had stuff plumbed. It was just plumbed in kind of a shitty manner. The elbow here was all jankety looking, and then they had the intercooler piping coming up and kind of tying into the turbo housing, where they could have just rotated the turbo housing down and made it a lot easier for themselves. So this works a lot better. I think this will work out pretty well. But now that we've got the intercooler in there and working, I'm going to be going ahead and putting a fuel pin in it. I just wanted to make sure that we could keep things cooled down before we start giving her some more power. The other thing I want to maybe add is, I don't know if I need to add a port somewhere along the intercooler piping for a boost gauge. So I'm not sure where the best spot would be for that, but I'm going to do some research. So that's just kind of an update on the Cummins here. It's turning out pretty good. Pretty happy with it so far. Really liking this truck. So thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next video.